This is DW News Africa. Coming up, no vaccine, no cure. So just how dangerous is the new Ebola outbreak? It's being driven by a rare Ebola strain with infections and deaths already reported in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Health authorities are racing to contain it, but with concerns about cross-border spread, time may be running out. I'll be talking to the Director General of the Africa Centers for Disease Control.
We need to isolate those who are sick. We need to conduct dignified funerals. We need also to provide information for water and sanitation. And more importantly, we need to protect our health workers. These are a number of measures that we are putting in place to stop transmission of this disease.
Hello there, I am Eddie Micah Jr., and you are welcome to the program. How can Africa fight against Ebola? There is deep concern in the Democratic Republic of Congo and across the continent at this latest outbreak, which is DRC's 17th. Congo's health minister says one of the first known patients was a nurse who reported to a health facility in DRC's Ituri province in late April, basically a month ago. Now, since then, the virus has spread to neighboring provinces and across the border into Uganda. Rwanda has closed its border to the DRC. Now, the World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency of international concern, expressing alarm about, quote, the scale and the speed of the spread. Abdirahman Mahamoud, director of WHO's Health Emergency Alert and Response Operations, gave this assessment on the time scale of infections.
So April 20th, there was a death. April 22nd, that body was transferred. And May 5th was a super spreading event where we detected a social media report of deaths in the communities.
Right. The World Health Organization has been playing catch-up with the virus and says that Ebola may have been spreading in Eastern DRC for even longer.
Investigations are ongoing to ascertain when and where exactly this outbreak started. Given the scale, we are thinking that it has started probably a couple of months ago, but investigations are ongoing, and our priority is really to cut the transmission chain by implementing contact tracing, isolating, and caring for all suspect and confirmed cases.
The Congolese health minister offered one reason why the outbreak went undetected for so long, saying affected communities believed they were dealing with a mystical illness, not a virus. Now, as a result, many of the sick were not taken to hospital.
The sooner, the quicker we can treat a patient, the faster we can cure them, and we can also stop the virus from spreading quickly. This isn't some mystical illness. Come forward so we can treat you and stop this disease from spreading.
The Ebola virus was co-discovered in 1976 by Jean-Jacques Uyembe. Today, he heads DRC's National Institute for Biomedical Research in Kinshasa. He stressed that containment is key to stopping the spread.
So the first thing is really to try to break the chain of transmission. That means cases need to be detected, confirmed and isolated. We mustn't wait for patients to come to hospital. Epidemiologists now have to go out into the field, go door to door to see if there are any cases, trace contacts and so on.
And health workers in Eastern DRC say the situation is not yet under control, and Ebola is often fatal. Some 30 to 50% of people who get the virus in this outbreak will die. It is highly contagious and spreads through contact with bodily fluids, such as vomit, blood, or semen. Symptoms include fever, vomiting, diarrhea, and muscle pain. In the worst hit area, Alikama Bitunda lost both her niece and her niece's baby daughter.
When her child died, she also became ill. We thought it was the stress related to her child's death, but then she started experiencing headaches and symptoms like malaria. It didn't stop. She began vomiting and had diarrhea, her throat became hot, and then her stomach swelled up. And that's how she died.
All right, let's get more from Dr. Jean Kaseya, Director General, Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Hello and welcome to the program, sir. So Africa CDC has declared this Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of continental security. More than 100 people have died, hundreds more suspected cases. How serious really is this outbreak?
This outbreak is so serious because we see in a few days, we moved from 40 deaths that were reported to 116. And we are talking about 4 to 5 days. And we also know that what we have is underestimated because we are waiting for the outcome of the active surveillance that we are conducting now. We decided to declare this outbreak public health emergency of continental security because we know when there is an outbreak in more than one country, we call a committee of experts, the emergency consultative group, where African experts are sitting to analyze data and to provide recommendation to the Director General of Africa CDC if we can declare this outbreak public health emergency of continental security. Then we start to conduct the political process, calling the president of the Burundi, who was the AU chair, calling President Ramaphosa, who was the AU champion for pandemic prevention and response, and calling the African Union chairperson. This is the process that led to declare the public health emergency of continental security.
Right. I mean, it really does sound serious how you're putting it. And the World Health Organization believes that this outbreak is going to further increase. I mean, they expect more infections coming up. But they also say this may have been spreading for weeks, possibly even months before it was detected. With the outbreak in West Africa, I remember 10 years ago, that was a long delay, a month, right? It led to the biggest Ebola outbreak in history. Could that happen again this time, you think?
Look, we are conducting studies to better know this virus. My experience now dealing with outbreaks, I take each outbreak seriously. And I don't speculate around the outbreak if it's less or more serious. I just take it seriously. What we know, for the time that it was declared, and as you know, it's Africa CDC that declared that on the 15th of May, I made it because we saw that 2 countries were affected. In our protocol, when the outbreak is in more than one country, it becomes the mandate of Africa CDC. Even we don't have to wait for the national authorities to declare that. We declare that. Right. And this is why we did it, and we are working. Now, I'm in DRC. Tomorrow, I'm flying to Uganda. And on Saturday, I'm calling for a cross-border meeting. DRC authorities and ministers, they will fly to Kampala. And I will bring also some other partners. Then we'll have one plan to respond to this outbreak.
Right. The current outbreak is linked to the rare Bundibugyo strain for which there's still no approved vaccine or specific treatment. So what tools do you have to contain the outbreak?
Let me start by saying, when Africans are talking about an equitable way to deal with human beings, all of us, we are human beings. Because this outbreak was discovered in 2007, it means 19 years back. Now, let me say, if it was in Europe or it was in the US, now we could have already vaccines and medicines available. But because it was in Africa, there was no interest to develop this vaccine. Now we are taking this issue seriously. I called for a meeting of big pharma, of research and development companies. We are working together with WHO. we need, and we are having some candidate vaccine. We need to have vaccine by the end of this year. But for now, because we don't have vaccine, we don't have medicine, it's mostly what we call the public health measures that can help us to stop the transmission. It means the more detection. This is why we need more capacity. We need more $1 million to buy diagnostic capacity. We need to isolate those who are sick. We need to conduct dignified funerals. We need also to provide information for water and sanitation. And more importantly, we need to protect our health workers. These are a number of measures that we are putting in place to stop transmission of this disease.
Right. Look, I know this is not a pandemic yet, right? But there are people that are worried. Should people be worried about lockdowns, border closures, or is that not necessary in your opinion?
You know, every year, Africa CDC manage around more than 200 outbreaks in Africa. It takes our time, it makes us busy. And we have experience, we have people, we have the know-how, and we are clear. Stopping movement of people is not what we are recommending. Closing borders is not what we are recommending. I think they saw that Africa CDC released a press statement against the decision made by the US government to impose travel restrictions to DRC, to Uganda, and to South Sudan. Even what I don't understand, South Sudan, where we have 0 cases reported, why are they under travel restriction? These are some measures that we don't understand in Africa. No one can explain to me why.
What do you think?
I already said that in our statement. We say they have to lift this decision. What African countries they need today is how European countries, other Western countries, they can come to support us. The chairperson of African Commission wrote to all partners to come to support Africa CDC to better support African countries. We are meeting on Saturday. By Sunday, we'll have a joint plan for all countries infected, but also countries at risk. Then we'll start to work with African countries, how much they can give to play solidarity, but also with our partners from Germany and others. It's time to apply solidarity. It's not time to punish, especially punishing countries that are applying transparency, because that one will backfire in the future. The lesson we are giving to this country is don't apply transparency when you have outbreak, because you'll be punished. This is what we don't want in Africa. Right.
So for those listening, especially people in the DRC, there definitely are concerns of the worst case scenario. So I want you to help talk to them. What can Congolese people and others that are affected by this do to protect themselves?
I'm saying to Congolese people, I'm like the general of army. I was in Geneva when this outbreak became a major public health issue. I stopped in one day my engagement. I came to fight with them. It means there is hope. We have experts. Yesterday, I was talking about Professor Muyembe, who was appointed special advisor to the Director General. It means we have experts who can help to fight that. This is the first reason to hope. The second one, we know the public health measures to be in place to stop the transmission. The third one, we have the willingness to provide funding from Africa and from our partners to fulfill our commitment. And the fourth one, we are conducting research and development to find very quickly, in a few months, medicines and vaccines. Today, Congolese people, they must say, the Director General of Africa CDC told us the government of DRC is doing a great job. The government of Uganda is doing a great job. The situation can be controlled if all of us, we implement public health measures, as I said.
Right. Right. A final one before you go. Look, we've been talking about Ebola outbreaks for a while. In the DRC, the people you just addressed, there's already been 17 different outbreaks. So it happens quite often. Can the continent prevent future Ebola outbreaks from becoming regional or continental health crisis? Are we just going to have to live with Ebola outbreaks in the near future?
Look, we had Ebola recently in DRC in a region called Bulape. It didn't spread across all other regions. Why? Because this strain called Zaire, we have vaccine, we have medicine. We managed to control that. The issue here, why do we have this Bundibugyo outbreak in Ituri spreading like that? First, because we are in an area where there is insecurity. But we have also density of population. It means the movement of population is huge. And it's also a mining region. It means people are coming to look for wealth there. These are all factors that are explaining the quick spread of this outbreak. We also have issue on detection. If we had early detection and we have a measure that can help, we have a way that we can report the result early to the capital, I think we could avoid the unnecessary deaths that we have. It means we have so many lessons by first implementing, making sure that people, they know symptoms, because we are in a region where we have regular outbreaks. Second, to make sure that we decentralize the laboratory network to detect quickly. And third, we put in place the digital system to send the report quickly. And also, we need to stop with the insecurity. That is a major factor of spreading outbreak.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Jean Kaseya, Director General, Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right. Like we just heard, medics say the current outbreak is being driven by a rare strain of Ebola called Bundibugyo. Discovered in Uganda in 2007, it resurfaced in DRC in 2012. Now, within days of samples being collected from infected patients, scientists in DRC and Uganda sequenced the genome of the virus, which revealed a surprise. The genetic fingerprint indicates that it is the Bundibugyo virus, but a new form, distinct from the earlier outbreaks in 2007 and 2012. Now, that is significant for dealing with many aspects of the disease. All right, for more on this, let's bring in Gerald Mbowa. He's a data engineer from the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program. So, labs in Uganda and DRC have published the sequenced genome of this new outbreak of Bundibugyo and compared it to the other two in 2007 and 2012. Tell us what's unique about this particular variant.
Thank you very much, Eddie, for giving me the chance to talk to you about this. So the genome has been confirmed to be a Bundibugyo variant of the Ebola, which was initially reported in Uganda in 2007 and then again in DRC in 2012. So the sequencing was done to confirm first that this is Ebola that we are dealing with, and then second, to understand which variant we have, because there are so many other variants. There is Zaire and then there is Sudan. So we wanted to be sure that this variant we are dealing with is a variant that has been reported before. So the sequencing confirmed exactly that this is Ebola Bundibugyo, and it is very distinct from what caused the outbreak in 2007 in Uganda and 2012 in DRC. So this is not a spillover from those two. Now this is a new, what we call a new spillover.
Right.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly, a new spillover? And you say it's unique from the other two. So what's unique about it?
So what is unique in this case is the fact that it now presents itself as not connected, directed to what caused the other two outbreaks that we had, 2007 in Uganda and 2012 in DRC. This is Ebola Bundibugyo, but it has now come from the source, from wherever it has come from, probably an animal model somewhere in the world, but it is not in any way directly related to what caused the other two outbreaks. So that's why we call it a new spillover event.
So it's a totally new virus, or have we seen some of it in previous years before?
No, when we say a new spillover, it means it is not directly related to the other one. So it is not a new, how I can say it is not directly connected to what caused the other two outbreaks, but it is still Ebola Bundibugyo.
Okay.
So that is the kind of naming that we give it. It's Bundibugyo virus, but there's no way you can say it is directly coming from the other two.
Yeah, okay. Because, just a little bit of education here. We know that Ebola viruses, they come from animals. You mentioned that a bit. But, what does this new outbreak indicate? Are we still talking from animal to human or human to human spread? Tell us more.
Okay, so that's a good question. So naturally, we know that Ebola is residing within the animals in the wild. So what happens is, for now, what we determine as the index is the first person from whom we identify a human confirmed virus. So that is what we call the index. But this person may be the first one who contacted it from the wild, from the animal in the wild, or he may not be the first one. So what we do is whole genome sequencing will enable us to, now we have the genome of the first confirmed case. If we get any other case that we may identify along the way during contact tracing, we'll be comparing it to this one that we already sequenced and be able to know whether those cases were the ones that got infected before the person that we have sequenced. So it is more of like trying to understand the transmission dynamics around every identified case, knowing who got it first, what were they exposed to. So you do a lot of these kind of investigations around each individual from whom you identify the virus.
Right. Let's hammer a bit on some of the public health measures that we know of. Measures like stopping transmission. They seem to be, the main weapon in the arsenal right now to tackle this. But how will this genetic information that you're sharing with us, how will that help in investigating the outbreak and, following the transmission routes?
Of course, when you catalog the history of the patient from whom you have identified this virus, you're able to understand their travel history, their occupation, where did they go before they moved to the hospital. All this information is going to help you do what we call contact tracing, for you to be able to contain the virus in the way that whoever got in contact with this index person will be able to be brought into isolation and checked and monitored for quite some time. So that is the kind of measures that we need to put in place. And that's why it's very important to identify the index case, that it will help you pick every contact they have had in the last maybe 3 or 4 days to be sure you track them for some time,
At the end of the day, what's very disturbing is the fact that there's no medicine, there's no vaccine for this particular variant, the Bundibugyo virus. So again, will this genetic information be useful in the search for vaccine and medicine?
Perfect. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we do sequencing. We are interested in identifying targets that we identify regions that can help us develop the right vaccines for these kind of viruses. So right now, I know there is an unapproved vaccine for Ebola Zaire that has been tried in different populations. But for Bundibugyo, none has been tried. So this is an opportunity to identify this genome and take it to a lab and be able to develop vaccines that can be used eventually in case there is a future outbreak.
Right. Look, I don't know how many times I've been speaking about Ebola. In the DRC, there's already been, 17 different outbreaks. Why is it constantly occurring in Africa, mainly in DRC, especially?
Okay, so when you look at DRC, the geography of DRC, first of all, it's a very big country, of course, with over 100 million people there, but also the extent to which it is covered with dense forests allow existence of diverse wildlife that probably may spend so many years without getting in contact with the humans. So as the pressure increases, humans are encroaching in many of these densely forested areas, the likelihood, the chances of an individual encountering this virus in a wild animal that has not contacted humans for the last so many years increase. So that is what increases the chances of having these encounters between humans and wildlife or wild animals that may be harboring these Ebola viruses. And we know in the wild animals, for them, the virus doesn't cause any disease in them. But when you get into contact with these animals and you have the first human transmission, then you're likely to have what we are seeing right now.
Right. I wish I had more time to dig into this. Very interesting stuff. Data engineer Gerald Mboa, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
Oh, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching.